It seemed like he was unstoppable. He won every game in Aura Farm while doing it. Unfortunately, all good things must eventually come to an end. Today, I'd like to tell you the story of the Shakespearean tragedy of the summer of Chris Numbers. Chris Numbers, great player. He was always pretty good. But one derby in 2026, he decided that he wanted to be the best. And he didn't want to just be the best. He wanted to look cool while doing it. And unfortunately, there began the summer of Chris Numbers. Well, Chris Numbers, genius over here, decided he wanted to Aura Farm against Michael Gerbest, and prove that he was truly the best player in the history of DOU, or something along those lines, I guess. And so, you know what he decided to do? If you look at your screen right now, you might see a level 1 Torkoal. And he decided to play with level 1 Torkoal. And I'll just, we're just going to watch this game. Oh, I got the big fake out. Big Sand Tomb. Great start for the summer of Chris Numbers in this replay. Rest in peace, Diancie. The level 1 Torkoal is in. Wait, why did he yawn it? I'm so confused. Wait, why did he click yawn? It's level 1, man. Big lead for the summer of Chris Numbers. As you can see, the position actually looks pretty good for Chris Numbers. And unfortunately, this began the summer of Chris Numbers. And he developed the greatest ego in the history of DOU. See, after vanquishing MDB with level 1 Torkoal, it didn't just stop there. Well, the worst part of this game is the fact that the Torkoal knocked out a Pokemon with Rocky Helmet. Oh no. It didn't just stop there. He then proceeded to Aura Farm me with Primeape. Oh, why is there music? Although between Primeape and Screamtail, which one is really the worst Pokemon? I don't know. So anyways, everything was going good for Chris Numbers. In fact, his team even won Doubles Derby with him managing and him going like 6-1 or something like that. And he was feeling really good about himself. He dubbed it the summer of Chris Numbers, and he decided that he was going to win the summer seasonal. He was even calling it the summer of Chris Numbers and the summer of Chris Numbers seasonal. Everything was great. It was perfect. He was winning every game. He was just the best. And then, unfortunately, like many a great hero, he fell victim to his own hubris. In the upcoming Doubles Premier League, he decided that he hadn't done enough. He needed to showboat one more time. And he flew too close to the sun. I don't know if you know about Chris Numbers and Pig Warrior, but there's some legendary, I wouldn't say it's fake, but there's some legendary, semi-real beef there. It's almost real. And he decided that, beating Pig Warrior in week 3 of Doubles Premier League was not enough. And he decided he had to do it with Cosmog, the worst Pokemon in the game. Because what's better than winning a game with a level 1 Pokemon? Winning the game with basically 5 Pokemon, not even using a Pokemon at all. And Cosmog, it's honestly probably even worse than level 1 Torkoal. And so today, we're going to be talking about the fall of Chris Numbers, which occurred after the summer of Chris Numbers. And so, we're just going to play the game. He decided that he just had to win with Cosmog. It wasn't enough to win. It was never enough to win. Future historians would cite Turn 3 as the end of the summer of Chris Numbers. Actually, no, they would cite Turn 2 as the end of the summer of Chris Numbers. As the unsuccessfully parting shot of the Goldango. Predicting a stay-in or a U-turn or something like that. I don't know. Who knows what was going through his mind. He flew too close to the sun. And many a player would have called it there. Like you tried to Aura Farm, like it just didn't work. And sometimes we fail at things, you know? And we let it go and we move on. But Chris Numbers is just not any normal player. He decided he needed to win the Summer of Chris Numbers with Cosmog to redeem himself. After starting the tournament very well, he sabotaged himself and loaded Cosmog in every game, seeking to finally redeem himself and get a win with Cosmog. But unfortunately, the first attempt failed. Getting so close and being yet so far. He tried again. He would get so close and get just short. But he would never give up. He tried again. and he wouldn't even lose by much. And he'd try again, and slowly the losses mounted. And Cosmog would die every game, not doing anything. And Chris Numbers was not skilled enough a trainer to win with Cosmog. Getting so close, and yet so far every time. But he kept going. Oops, I didn't find the replay. Okay. And he kept trying. Sometimes he wouldn't even get close. But he redeemed himself and earned another chance to try again, even loading 5 Pokemon instead of Cosmog. But it was futile, as he lost anyway. And the fine people of the DOU community began to take notice. Drawing sensationalized photos of Chris Numbers pushing the boulder of Cosmog up the hill, only for it to fall down, and he had to try again. But he embraced the challenge. He kept trying. Where's his next game then? Loading the same Cosmog teams over and over. Even when he was so close, victory eluded him. No, actually, he outwon this game. Oh my goodness. And he tried again and again. But no matter how hard he tried, he could never win with Cosmog. But the final injury was yet to come. For in the 4th round of the DOU SCL Implicational / Preview Tournament came the greatest defeat of all. His opponent brought Cosmog into him. Surely this would be the time that Chris Numbers would get a win with Cosmog. If there was any hope of the summer of Chris Numbers coming back, it would be now. He couldn't even beat Cosmog with Cosmog. But there was one last chance to attempt to beat Cosmog with Cosmog. But he high jumped that kicked the Goldango, and all hope was lost. And the fall of Chris Numbers was completed. The greatest aura loss in the history of DOU. All because he flew too close to the sun. He could have kept winning games with normal teams, but it wasn't enough. He just had to get that final victory, the greatest triumph of all time. But it was not for him to achieve. Someday, he may recover, but today is not that day. The end of the summer of Chris Numbers has already arrived. We'll see you in the next video.